AM 1060 WMEL. The views expressed on the following program are those of the hosts, callers, and guests, and are not necessarily those of WMEL staff, management, or advertisers.
This is Joe Steckler, folks, your host for Helping Seniors, the radio arm of Helping Seniors of Brevard County Incorporated. Our job is to inform, to educate, and to help connect seniors and those who care for seniors with the resources that are available here at Brevard County to help all of us be part of an elder-friendly community. Kay, our information specialist, her phone number is 473-7770. You can reach her there any time of the day, and if you don't get the actual Kay, leave a message because she will call you back as soon as she possibly can. This is not one of those outfits where you call and somebody leaves you dangling on the phone for a half hour. That doesn't happen. You leave the message and she'll call you back. If it doesn't, I'll call you back, because all calls go to my computer, Kay's computer, and Carrie's computer. So we know what happens 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And just for your information, we're starting to get calls from all over the United States. The concept is working, the concept is going to grow, and the concept is going to help the people who sponsor us, because our sponsors are the people that want to be part of an elder-friendly community. And here are some of our sponsors for the first part of the show. Kindred at Home. It's a in-home skilled nursing care service, as well as a long-term care hospital right across from the airport. The Eye Institute, Dr. Lee Sheldon, Bill Johnson, elder law attorney, this radio station, WMEL AM 1060, Wistoff Hospital Systems, Levin Home Care, Ebony News Today, Riverview Senior Resort, and Organized Creative Designs. And don't let that name fool you, folks. Carla from Organized Creative Designs runs a business that helps seniors downsize. And that's one of the hardest things for seniors to do. I know, because I'm trying to downsize myself. And it's not easy. But sponsors today with me in the panelists in the booth today are Stephanie and Chris. Stephanie is the executive director from Market Street and Marketplace. Market Street. Gosh, I get that right. And Chris, your last name again?
Shepherd.
Shepherd, I should know that. But Chris and Stephanie are here today on behalf of Market Street, which is I'll let them tell you about it. And since I've got people wondering what we're talking about today, Stephanie, tell our listeners, what is Market Street? What do you do?
Well, Joe, Market Street is an assisted living, but it's all memory care community that we're opening here in Viera in October.
So you're just in the process of getting set to open in October.
Yes. Chris,
I know that there's a lot more to what Market Street is than what Stephanie said. You add to those viewers. If you don't, I'm going to tell them too, because what you all are doing is a great thing here in Brevard County. It's needed. So talk about it.
Well, if you get me started, you'll have to wave your hand, so I'll stop.
That's all right. I'll stop you.
Because I get really excited about this. I feel like that we offer so much. Everybody has a niche, every type of memory care community, and we're all needed. There's so many needs. You know, you think that there's over 450,000 Floridians that are diagnosed with Alzheimer's alone, much less the other dementias. Well, that's the size of the city limits of Orlando and Tampa combined. Yep. And think of the millions of people, the family members and friends that are connected to going through that as well. So there's so many needs and so few people to meet the need. One thing that we do is I'll start with one thing and start. You stop me, Joe. And
I'll let Stephanie talk a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. But we very much are committed to what we call our 4 Ps, and they impact our associates and they impact our residents who live within our Market Street community. One thing we believe is that everybody in their entire life has potential. And so often when people move into a memory care community, the family is searching for a place where their loved one can end their life in a peaceful place and be well cared for, and realize that they look at this as the end. Well, that's a beautiful thing. But one thing we believe is that the people who move into our community still have potential. They have so much potential to still enjoy life and impact those around them. So it's our job and our mission to unleash that potential. We feel that our associates have incredible potential. I can talk more about that, but let me just give you one story and then I'll stop here about potential.
You think about what you're going to talk about, Stephanie.
Okay. Well, we've become friends with some research hospitals across the country that are focused on Alzheimer's, and some papers have been released within the last couple of years that have shown that in the disease of Alzheimer's, which is only one dementia, right, there are people are still, as their cognitive abilities are decreasing throughout that disease, their abilities to emotionally connect with those that are close to them actually increases. So when a person is at the end of their life and they have very little cognitive ability, the part of their brain that is connected to others emotionally works at a higher level than yours or mine does. I find that so fascinating. And so these scientific papers, research by doctors, by UCSF, University of California, San Francisco, UC Berkeley, those kind of hospitals, think about what that means for families. They've got a loved one who's living within a memory care community, and there can still be healing and connection with their loved one who is at the end of the disease of Alzheimer's if the community knows how to unleash that. So we work very hard to train all of our associates. Every associate who works within our community is what is called a certified dementia practitioner. They know how to relate to people with dementia. They go through specific training for that. That's part of our unleashing their potential. I'll stop because, as you can tell, I get quite passionate.
Well, no, it's what you say is very interesting, Chris, because when I first got started with the Alzheimer's program here in Brevard County, we used to have, well, at one point we had 44 support groups from Titusville down to Mickle, 44 support groups.
That's awesome.
One of them was a support group for children. And I never will forget it. In fact, one day I was doing this support group, and there was a little 12-year-old boy in there. And they were telling stories about their grandparents. And this one little boy was saying how mean his grandfather was to him and what he did to him. And one of the other children made a comment, and the little boy looked at me and he said, but you know, he said, that's all right. He said, that's not really my grandfather. That's a person there, Mr. Steckler. He said, I remember my grandfather for what he was when I was even smaller than I am now. And I still love him. I love him. And, you know, and the other kids in the class, they started to understand what that little boy was saying. And you're right. I used to always tell people, you never know what's behind the mask of a face.
That's exactly right.
You just don't know, Chris.
Yeah.
Stephanie is executive director, and your background training. You're what kind of nurse? Where are you?
I'm an LPN.
LPN.
Mm-hmm.
But were you in training? Did you work with Alzheimer's patients, or what is your training for?
Yes, most of my nursing career I have dealt with geriatrics in kind of the whole spectrum through assisted living, memory care, but I've truly found my passion is memory care because there really is so many great things, as Chris said, that, you know, they still have that potential, and there's so many things that we can still unleash with them and, you know, are able to really give them that purpose and sense of...
Yeah. Many times when we start talking, when Chris starts talking and you start talking, and I looked at your website and I saw you had art classes, and you mentioned bakery, and you mentioned some other things, and I think that people, when they start investigating what they need in terms of memory care for a member of their family, it can be a very complicated, confusing thing, and part of your process as executive director. And Chris, would you get involved in that, unraveling what the people really need?
Sure. Stephanie, do you want to start, and I'll jump in? Or?
Yeah, I mean, the basic resident that we would have does have to have some form of a dementia diagnosis, but really we're able to cater to those residents that are on the full spectrum, whether it's in the earlier stages or even to the middle stages. So that's where we really come together as a team and look at everybody as an individual and put together a specific care plan and different things for them to make sure that we are giving them the best quality of life depending on where they are in the disease process.
When you talk about team, how about both of you? You talk about it, and Chris, you fill in with what Stephanie's not talking about. When you say you have a team at Market Street, what do you mean by that when you say you have a team? Because I know, and you're right, you have early dementia, you have late-term dementia, you have people who have Alzheimer's. In fact, there are some 80 dementias.
Right.
People just don't understand that. Many strokes cause dementia, and it causes people to have more than a need that sometimes that the average family cannot care for these people. So they need a place like Market Street. And one thing I want people to understand, when you're talking about a facility that is totally safe. When we say you lock your patients in, but you lock them in a nice way. You lock them in to protect them.
That's so exciting that you say that, Joe, because when someone, and we invite people to contact us now. We're offering hard hat tours on Thursday mornings now. But when you come into our community, you have the opportunity to greet your loved one or friend who lives in our community at our post office. And it's like walking into a post office, and that is so cool because it's the hub of activity. So when someone leaves the community, they're also leaving in the post office. That makes the farewell a little bit different because there's other things going on. And then you walk into what we call our Market Street Plaza. And it is absolutely phenomenal. There's unbelievable landscaping. It's indoors. But flowers, trees, clouds painted on the ceiling. It's Disney-esque. Birds singing. But in the Market Street Plaza, there's a newsstand. So they're finding more and more that people who have different forms of dementia, including Alzheimer's, are able to read even some people into the late stages. So we have a newsstand, we have a gelato ice cream shop, we have a bakery, we have our salon there. So it's actually an active place, just like a village. We have two communities that spin off, that actually, I don't know, the right word isn't spin, but are connected.
It's a good word.
They're connected to our Market Street Plaza, and those communities have 30 apartments each. And they share the Market Street Plaza, but then they have their own distinctives within each community as well. So each community of 30 apartments or village of 30 apartments has a beautiful interior courtyard where there'll be herb gardens and all kinds of things as well. I mean, I'll stop because
no, but when you talk about both of you can talk about this. We talk about having 2 units of 30 units each. Are you saying that you try to do you try to intermingle all the clients, or you try to separate them so that you can deal with their more pertinent individual needs? How do you make that work?
The residents are actually all intermingled. We're not separating by their needs. It has been proven that a lot of people with Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia actually do better when they're able to see someone else and mirror some of their images. So
you're giving the right answers, by the way. You're giving the right answers. I'm telling you, folks, I didn't know exactly what Market Street was when I came here to the studio. But after about 2 minutes of talking to these two, I fully understood what they were talking about, and I am excited because competition is always great. And competition and caring for the elderly and bringing new programs, bringing new ideas into the field are what's going to make aging a little easier for families that have people that do have forms of dementia. You're nodding, Chris. What are you thinking?
Well, I think it's so true. I could tell you a little bit about our some of our programming. We have so many different programs, over 20 a day in each one of those 30 communities. 30-person, 30-apartment communities. So think of that. People can interact and move back and forth to communities with their family. But in every community, we have an amazing technology. It's called It's Never Too Late. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's phenomenal. It's on a 70-inch monitor. It's computer driven, but you find more on it than you would ever be able to find on your computer at home because it's tailor made. We offer it in our various communities, and I'll tell you what, grandchildren and friends and family, when they visit our residents, whether they're in assisted living or memory care, cannot wait to connect with their loved one around It's Never Too Late. It's because they have an opportunity to interact with each other about things that they all love and go anywhere in the world or experience anything in the world. And it calls back memories. It calls the present. I'll tell you just one story. I could go on and on and on about this. Come and see us just to see It's Never Too Late.
Wait, you're talking about all this. Where do you have a current community?
We have a community in Sebastian, which isn't very far. It's assisted living and memory care. It's called Pelican Landing.
Okay.
We also have one in Lake Nona area of Orlando, which is about 35, 40 minutes from here, right off of Narcoossee at the 528. So that's called Watercrest of Lake Nona. We'd love for people to come and see us there even before we open, just to come on a tour. But I'll tell you one story about It's Never Too Late. I'm in our communities all the time. And I was recently in our community in Lake Nona, and a lady is from Korea. I just love her. She's always got a smile on her face, and she didn't when she first came in. But she's so happy. After a while, she lived in our community. She broke a family member's heart because she said, "I'm so happy here, you don't need to keep coming back." But anyway, here's the thing. Let me tell you this story. It's amazing. One day we were looking at visuals of South Korea on It's Never Too Late.
Okay.
And she started telling us and remembering things from her childhood, dress, places she'd been. She was telling us all where she'd grown up, that she'd seen, and it was obvious that she knew all about it. And it was such a great thing because we all experienced community in that moment, and we experienced it with her.
Well, see, what you're doing is you're reinforcing what I have seen happen in communities where we have different types of dementia working together. We did the same thing with the Alzheimer's program that I set up over here on Wickham Road. We put all the people together, Stephanie, and we didn't segregate people. And we figured that everybody has something to offer to the community at large. And that's exactly what the two of you are saying. But what you're saying, Chris, about people that, while it's hard for families to accept the fact that sometimes it's better for their loved one to be in a community where they are accepted, and they win acceptance by being part of that community. And as they become deeper ingrained in that community, they become happier and they don't want to leave. And this is one of the things that I think that when you start dealing with Alzheimer's people, it's so difficult to understand that people that do have dementia can still be happy.
Oh, very much, very much. In fact, we talk about leaving, but we also offer multiple outings for our residents. And our program specialists, our resident care specialists go with our residents on those outings. Family members and friends are invited to go. We have a shuttle, but it's incredible because we connect them to art museums in the area. We get them out and we go on picnics, to parks, to the beach, any kind of interest that our residents might have had, because we're very individualized. So if someone was into flights, we'll take them to a place where they can experience and still enjoy seeing flight in action. And what better place is there than that on the Space Coast? But that's exciting.
I think that one of the things, are you going to take advantage of the wetlands out in Viera?
We are, most definitely. There is nothing in this community that it offers that we won't take advantage of. We've been working long and hard already, and we have more to learn, but learning about this community because we want to be a real part of it. We want to be partners.
That's one of the things, Stephanie. As the executive director, one of your tasks could be to do exactly what Chris has said, find out what is available in the community. And I asked you a question when we first met about, we are familiar with the term elder-friendly community. And I've been a proponent of the theme that Dr. Emma Fernandez, who was the Florida Secretary of Elder Affairs, coined this back in 2002, 14 years ago. She strongly believed that we needed to work together better. And that's exactly what I think that you're doing with Market Street Community and memory care. Can you talk about that some? What are you looking for? When I mentioned like the wetlands.
Yeah, definitely. That's something that Chris has started, quite a while ago, and we have our sales director, Jamie, is with us as well, and that's something that we are out doing daily, just getting to know the community, getting to know all of those resources, because when someone comes to us, even if we are not the perfect fit for them, we want to be a resource for them. So we want to know all of the physicians in the area, all of the different things that are available so that we can help that family member regardless of what it is that they need. And that includes bringing awareness of Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia to the community as well, and making them comfortable with it and understanding part of the disease process and how we can interact with all of those different things.
Okay, there's a couple of schools of thought about something that Chris mentioned. That's a family involvement. In your previous work over, say, at Lake Nona, were you working with the veterans over there too?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So was it your community involved the Lake Nona assisted living facility for the veterans? Did they get involved with your community over there?
Yes, yeah, we were working with the VA and everything coming up in Medical City over there, and then here in Viera, we've already started working with Honor Flight and the AVET project, and we're getting involved
you work with the Honor Flight?
Yes.
We're very excited to work with the Honor Flight.
Oh, gee, they're trying to get me to go on that, and I'm balking at it. But my wife and I were in Washington D.C. X number of months ago for a funeral, and we were at the airport at Washington National getting ready to catch our flight to come back to Melbourne and Orlando, and 2 Honor Flights came in. And to watch the people get off that Honor Flight, I didn't think about it at the time that, I'm eligible for that now. It sort of brings home the reality of what the two of you are talking about when we talk about senior care, elder care, and what's good for people. So that's extremely important. We're coming up on a break, so I'll wind it down here. And folks, do stay with us, because I want Chris and Stephanie to talk about their primary home company, because I think it's important for people to know how they are trying to improve the quality of care and the types of care within local communities. And I think you're going to be amazed at a couple of things that Stephanie and Chris are going to talk about. Especially, I like the idea of the bakery. And with that, we'll take a sign off and we'll take a break.
Chosen Business of the Month by the Cocoa Beach Regional Chamber of Commerce, this is AM 1060 WMEL.
This is Joe Steckler, folks. We're back live with the second half of the show with our Market Street people, Stephanie and Chris. But I want to mention our sponsors for the second part of the show, which is they include Senior Scene Magazine, Hometown News, Spotlight Magazine, Seniors Helping Seniors, The Fountains of Melbourne, Courtney and Braswell Financial Advisors, Barbara McIntyre, Home Equity Loan Specialist, Canadian Meds of Melbourne. That's where you can get medications, folks, prescription drugs, at a far cheaper price. If you're not on a drug or a prescription drug plan and you're buying your medications on your own, call Kay at the office and talk to her about a way that you can help yourself save money. And that's the purpose of information. How can we live and become older and do it with some semblance of dignity and yet still feel that we have control of our lives? And I really don't like having older citizens, and I can say older folks because I'm an older citizen. I can say it. But I don't like to see us breaking pills. I think it's wrong, and there's a way to not to have to do that. So call Joe at Canadian Meds. Other sponsors include Ear Care, Vitas Hospice, Handy Pro, the Space Coast, and Aldea Today. And one of our newest is the Barefoot Bay Tattler, and we had our first column in the Tattler last month. And I've already been told by some people that in the Miko community that they're glad that we're back with them down there and helping make available information on senior resources to the people in the Barefoot Bay community. There's a large community down there, folks, and they need help. And I know that Chris and Stephanie are much aware of that. But let's get back to Chris and Stephanie. Stephanie, I asked during the break, I talked a little bit about just what you did, a basic idea of cost, and I would like for you to feel comfortable in talking to the people on the air about the cost of what you offer. But I think it's important for you to help the people understand that while at first blush the cost might seem high, when you think about what it is that you get and what your loved one gets and the safety of your loved one, it means an awful lot to me and to other people. So you talk about it. I know Chris is going to fill in where you leave out. So you start.
All right. So our cost is going to be $6,100 to $6,200 a month, depending on different apartment sizes. We do have 2 different floor plans, but that is all-inclusive pricing, which means that includes, of course, all of your utilities, all of your television, if you want that, transportation, all of that. But more so than that, as you were talking about, is the care. We have 24-hour nurses on staff. We always have a licensed nurse handling the medications, as well as resident care specialists that are going to help with all of your activities of daily living, whether that be helping to shower, dress, grooming, any of those needs. And then on top of that, we have programming specialists as well that are helping with all of the different things we were talking about earlier in Market Street and helping those activities go on throughout the day. So there's...
Okay, I'll interrupt you. And one of the things on your website talks about your salon and spa. Mm-hmm. Is that included in the cost of the care, or they pay a small fee for that?
That is a small fee. That will be additional. That is a salon that comes in and provides services for us, but it would be the same as you just going out to town to a salon somewhere.
Okay, but there are not too many things like that. From what I've read about your website, almost everything is included in your basic cost. Chris, you want to add to it?
Yeah, I would also say that our dining is phenomenal. Our vice president of culinary, his name is Chaz Kelly. He comes from a resort background as well as assisted living and memory care communities. He knows what he's doing, and he hires our executive chefs for our communities, and they knock it out of the park. In fact, we were invited to be a part of the Taste of Viera competition at one senior place, and so Chaz brought our executive chef from our Lake Nona community because they invited us to come, and we won. It was our first time. One thing that we stress is that we have a Mediterranean-style diet. The elements of that diet are present throughout the day in every part of what the residents participate in. So that's great. So lean fish, lean meats, fruits, vegetables, whole grains. So very healthy superfoods. Delicious as well. That's all included. So, and also the way that is presented is very exciting because we pay attention to everything from the flatware to the drinking glasses to the color of the plates to contrast with the food that's being served, because sight is such an issue for people that often have dementia as well.
Well, the other part, and it's something that you triggered a thought in my own memory, color plays an extremely important part in how you cope with people who have dementia. Bright colors can be very offensive.
They can be. It depends on the person.
Yes.
So one thing that we love about us and that we're so passionate about is we're very individualized. We stress what we call an individualized service plan. So all of our all of our associates are trained in programming. All of our associates know how to interact with everyone who lives within our community. So often you'll go into a memory care community and you'll see 10 to 15 people sitting around doing one thing. And some of them are nodding off, but that's the program. And that's great, and I honor that and I respect that. But we're so engaged and being sensitive to what people who live in our community enjoy that when you come into our communities, it's very common to see 2 to 3 people gathered together doing a program, while maybe 4 or 5 are gathered over here, or 2 or 3 over here. And that's an exciting thing, and that's the reality in every one of our communities. So it makes it, that in itself is a demonstration of how much we stress the individual part of life.
What you're saying is what I'm very familiar with, and I know that you can do what you're talking about if you make a plan for it to happen.
That's exactly right.
And I've seen so many different types of care offered in different assisted living facilities, and I know what you get is proportionate to what effort is put into it. There was a daycare opened down in Palm Bay called The Social, and I can't remember Bob Weber. And Bob was so excited, just like you, Chris. He came on a radio show a couple times and a couple of TV shows, was so excited. This had been his dream. He had it all done. I mean, in the way he designed the floors, and even had happy hour where they could actually have a drink, or they could have a glass of wine.
I love that.
But he had it, the thing fixed so that the people in the wheelchair could go under the wheelchair section of the bar and not have to get out of their wheelchair and still feel like they're at the bar. He had it open 3 months and he died.
Oh.
It was so sad because the man was so full of life about what he was going to be able to do for people after so many years of planning and putting his money together and doing it, and it all planned. And he passed away very, very unexpectedly. And so this is life. And this is why it's important for people to understand what the two of you are talking about when you have a program called Market Street, because it is different. What I like about and I'm going to say a closed community, because that's exactly what you are. There's only one other organization in several years, and that's a place that's been here a long time called Autumn House. But you are going to offer the same type of service that they do there, but you got some little different twists to it.
Everybody has a niche, and we talked a little bit about the bakery a while ago, and you said you were interested in that.
Yes.
One reason why we offer that is because, again, research shows that the senses are such a primary thing for people with dementias. It can call back memories and give them a sense of feeling good and wellness. And you know that yourself. I do. I mean, if I go into a place where it smells like apple pie, I immediately think of my grandma because she made amazing apple pies. So that's an important part of life. So our bakery, that's where our baking will be done. Residents will be able to go in. They'll even be able to participate a little bit. It'll be supervised. It'll be very safe. But how good does that make you feel when you're getting to participate in something like that? That's a big thing. Another thing that we offer about the senses, there's a great program. You've probably heard of it. It's called Music and Memory.
Yes.
And we offer that in all of our communities. I love music and memory. We all know the power of music and the impact it makes on our life. The difference with music and memory, again, is that it's very individualized. So when a family makes a reservation in our community, one of the first things we ask them to do is start thinking about the top 25 songs that their loved one enjoyed. If it's more than that, that's great, because we want to download those so that their loved one can experience those songs that were especially meaningful to them at some point in their life. And research shows that that does great things for people who experience dementia.
It really does. And Stephanie, you mentioned something about the care of the people. I'm trying to think of it. I have a slight memory lost myself right now, but
don't ask us to start singing.
It does happen when it happens when you get so engrossed in a topic you're talking about, and it had to do with the care of people. And from a nursing viewpoint, I think my question was, how are you going to make sure that the clients do interact? How some people may, I know what it was. It was this. If a husband and a wife, let's say there's a husband and a man and a woman, and let's say the husband is suffering from dementia, do you plan to take couples in, or are they simply just going to people that have memory loss? Have you thought about that?
It is strictly a memory care community. So if both spouses, needed memory care, then of course that's something we would look at. But overall, the goal is for the community to be specific to those with memory loss. We want to make sure that everyone, is in the environment that they can function the best, and those without memory loss, it wouldn't be the most conducive environment. So that's something we look at case by case, but typically it is just going to be those with memory loss.
But you would look at it on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, but here's the great thing about that, and we see that in every one of our communities.
It's something that does come up.
Well, we have people who move into our community. It's one spouse who has the dementia. That's a common thing. And one of the great things that we enjoy that just gives us so much fulfillment is to see those spouses start relating together on a level that they weren't experiencing before one of them moved in. Because the focus for the one who has been the care partner, they're both care partners to be honest, but for the focus for the one without the dementia has been so much concern and fear and making sure everything was taken care of. When they know that everything is, their loved one is being cared for in the best possible way and enjoying life, when they come to the community, their ability to enjoy each other's company is just, it changes exponentially.
Well, the reason I ask it, I'm thinking in terms of a couple that my wife and I knew that the wife had advanced dementia, the husband did not, and they were both in an assisted living facility, but they weren't together, and because the wife no longer recognized the husband as her husband. She thought he was somebody different under certain circumstances, but under different circumstances, she thought that was her husband and knew it. So what you're saying to me is, I could see a husband coming in the morning and having breakfast with his wife and staying there all day long, and then going to where he lived at night, and his wife would stay there.
That's so true. In fact, and I'll just jump in here too. We were talking about music a while ago. I often see couples interacting in a more way like they used to when they're enjoying music. And music is a big part of our communities, and so there will be someone, I've seen this many times, where there will be a spouse who lives with us who might have been agitated at some point in the day. We have some musical program where we connect them to music, and their loved one is there, and the way they start relating to each other changes. Yeah. And it's such a good thing. It's good for both of them.
Well,
it's
that's
good for all
the point
of
I brought
us.
it up,
Yeah.
Chris, because my wife and I both thought it was a terrible thing that they didn't bring the husband and wife together more so they could associate more, because had they done it, I think that the outlook might have been different.
I totally agree.
Yeah. And this is, in many instances, when you get into the business of memory care places, we're still researching. We're still trying to develop the best apple to fit the pie.
Yeah.
We just don't know everything. But what, as the executive director, Stephanie, what are something that we would need to tell our listening audience today about Market Street that Chris and I have not let you talk about?
Well, talking about the family coming in, whether it's a spouse or a child, that's one of the great things about the Market Plaza concept that we have. It's not just walking into the neighborhood, into their apartment to spend time with them. It gives the family somewhere to go and spend time with them as well. So if they walk in and it's a bad day and, maybe mom doesn't recognize them that day, it doesn't have to be that, awkward or hurtful visit. They can take them out to Market Plaza and go sit in the bakery and enjoy a croissant with them, or, a day walking out in the park there. So it definitely gives them that sense of purpose and something else to be able to experience with them.
One thing that people often ask me about a place, they'll say, Joe, what kind of staffing levels do they have? What kind of people do they have? What are your plans for staffing level at Market Street?
Again, being all memory care, it will be very dedicated staffing. We are going to have a nurse always handling all of our medications. So all medication management will be licensed nurses. We will have resident care specialists or CNAs who will be helping with all of the activities of daily living. And then on top of that, we also have the programming specialists that are in the communities. So there's all various levels, and that's in conjunction with, our resident wellness director, our memory care director. So there will be a lot of dedicated staff there.
Okay,
And
how about rehabilitation or exercise type, gymnastics type things for the residents to keep them physically fit, and maybe low impact exercises so that one of the hardest things for seniors to do is maintain the bulk that they need to lift themselves. It's extremely important. Do you have plans that you will be able to help residents with that?
Definitely. Incorporated in our programming, we will have many different types of exercise classes and programming. Everything we do is, very active.
Do you have a gym?
We do not have a gym per se. We have a sunroom that we use for a lot of our exercise classes that has huge windows that brings in lots of natural light, and is great especially for that morning exercise in different areas that we'll utilize.
Do you plan on having, for lack of a better word, I would say, an enforced exercise regimen?
It will not be enforced, but we have daily exercise programs throughout the day. Yes, very encouraged. Highly encouraged, yes.
Okay.
And,
it's good for people, Chris.
Yeah, right.
And so often we're just afraid to talk about what a family member might need when they're no longer under our care. And I go back in the time we do have left, one of the hardest things is for the family member to accept the fact that the person might be better off at Market Street, or will be better off at Market Street than they would be with them trying to care for them at home when they don't have the strength and don't have the energy to care for that person anymore. And we can help them find, you used the word, a niche, Chris.
Right, yeah, stimulation is so important. It's important throughout our life. So we very much are committed to offering that to every one of our residents, and the whole family benefits because of that.
You had something about your distinctive differences with the Market Street. What is it? How people find? Well, how in the heck do people find out about you? We don't have a lot of time left, but how do people find out? You talked about having a facility that you're building right now, and you're going to be open in when?
We will be open in October, but right now we do have a sales office that is open inside of One Senior Place.
Oh, okay. I saw One Senior Place on the website, and I figured that was the connection there. Are you getting interest already?
Oh, yes, and our community is being constructed on Morrell Road. It's right by Indian River Colony Club. So we're very interested in already becoming good friends with that community and with area churches in the community as well. With the area synagogues, we're very committed to being involved with all aspects of the community. We are community-driven.
Well, I think that your election to be part of helping seniors and recognizing that we are also a means of helping good businesses that care for seniors get the right kind of clients. And I think that's so important. The match is so important. There might be somebody that would not be a fit at Market Street, but from what I gather and the way that you're trying to program the place, it would be very difficult to not find a way to cause somebody to fit in with what you're trying to do with your program. And contrary to what a lot of people say, worry about eating and diet and everything else, older people are very attracted to food. And I did ask you, Stephanie, how do you plan to keep people from eating too much?
Well, I don't know about eating too much. We definitely, as Chris said, are going to have an amazing dining program. I mean, we've showcased that in all of our other communities. And, when you're getting Alzheimer's and dementia, sometimes it is more difficult to find foods that are attractive to you. So we even look at things such as plating our flatware, the colors of our food, different ways that it's presented to make sure that we are monitoring that and keeping everybody, at a healthy intake.
As a nurse, will you keep something, I use the word nursing notes. Will you keep a daily chart on your residents?
Absolutely. Absolutely, yes.
That's extremely important. Some of these questions, folks, that I'm asking them, they're not easy to answer. And I've asked some tough questions, and they've answered them. They've answered them the right way, and that's what I like. You have made it your point to do the very best you can to get the best information you can on your clients, and I think that's important. We got 28 seconds, Chris. You talk the most, so you get to close it out.
Well, we just encourage you to come and visit us. Come to the office at One Senior Place. You'll learn more about it. We have a great website, Market Street at Viera. You can Google that. You can actually go on an online tour of the community and see it there online, learn about our distinctives. But do come by One Senior Place so that you can learn more about us, go on a hard hat tour. Even if you do not have a family member that's a candidate, come and see us.